Well, welcome everyone to the Diffley Road School Area Improvement Open House. My name is Chris Cromie. I'm a senior principal with Bolton Mank, and I'm the consultant project manager for the improvements on Diffley Road and Braddock Trail in the area of Eagan Public Schools. Just a little bit about my background. I'm a transportation engineer with more than 25 years of experience. I am a licensed civil engineer in the state of Minnesota. I'm also a certified professional traffic operations engineer. That accounts for the 6 letters behind my name. The professional traffic operations engineer certification is provided through the Transportation Professional Certifications Board. It's a national certification that identifies and acknowledges advanced knowledge, skill, and ability in 6 primary areas of traffic operations. Those include traffic operational analysis, geometric design of roadways and intersections, traffic safety, traffic control devices, traffic engineering studies, and social, environmental, and institutional issues associated with transportation systems. Purpose of this presentation is just to give a brief introduction to the open house material. It is about a 15-minute presentation that I'll give just an overview of the project, some of the design updates available today, our next steps, where we sit with funding and construction schedule, and our next steps. To get into more detail, we have a number of displays and additional videos provided on the project website. All that information is going to be available to assist you in learning about the project and specific details of the project. We are looking for public input through Monday, the 28th of September on the project website. So I want to provide a real brief history of why we're here and what we've done thus far. The improvements to Diffley Road and Braddock Trail in the area of Eagan Schools has been underway for over 3 years now. The scope of the improvements has expanded as the school, city, and county has gained a better understanding of the vehicle and pedestrian movements in the area. It's expanded from an intersection improvement project at the Diffley-Braddock intersection to look beyond through the whole Diffley corridor, from Lexington Avenue over to Dodd, as well as on-site school circulation items as well. A number of broader initiatives that are occurring are also helping to shape our direction and how we've arrived at where we're here today. City of Eagan's citywide bike and pedestrian plan, Dakota County's countywide school safety assessment are just a couple of items that are helping to shape the direction of this study. Through our study efforts, it was important that we all arrived at a common understanding of the issues that we're facing, not just my issue and your issue, but a common understanding of what the actual problems are and what parts of the issues that we're seeing are simply symptoms of the problems. Through our analysis and public input process, we have identified 4 key pedestrian vehicle conflict points that we know that we need to get addressed. We need to make some improvements to. Those 4 include, first one is the Braddock Trail, Dakota Hills Middle School entrance. This location has heavy vehicle congestion, especially in the morning, with parent drop-off, school bus activity coming in and out of the school at the same time where we have middle schoolers and high schoolers trying to walk to school or bike to school. Second location is Braddock Trail, Diffley Road signalized intersection. This is a signalized intersection with heavy vehicle turning movements that are occurring at the same time as a pedestrian phase across Diffley Road. We want to identify a better situation for crossing there and address the pedestrian vehicle conflicts. The third location is Diffley Road, Daniel Drive intersection. This is a wide side street stop intersection that is an attractive route for residents along Daniel Drive to connect to the Dakota Hills Middle School and the school athletic fields. It is unfortunately 4 lanes wide, 2 lanes in each direction, plus left turn and right turn lanes. So it's as much as a 6-lane crossing for residents or pedestrians to go across Diffley Road. The fourth and final location of pedestrian vehicle conflict concerns is at the Diffley Road, Diffley Marketplace crossing. This is a wide private street intersection with restricted vehicle movements, restricted by a narrow median in the middle of Diffley Road. This too is an attractive route for pedestrians because of the school athletic fields and the city park on the north side of Diffley Road, coupled with residents along the Wildflower Lane area and the retail destinations on the south side of Diffley Road. So just to give a perspective on amount of people that are moving through the area, particularly at the beginning of the school and end of school. This information is for the 2019-2020 school year. Of course, the 2020-2021 school year is a bit different everywhere, including here in Egan. But just to give you an understanding of who's coming to and from the school and how are they getting there. Northfield Elementary School has a student population of just under 500 students. A little less than half of that are dropped off by their parents or a sibling, dropping off at the front door of the front sidewalk prior to school and picking up in the evening. A little over 50% of them are riding the bus. And we really don't have any walkers or bikers to speak of to the elementary school. There may be a few here and there, but nothing on a regular basis. The high school and middle school, this is a considerably larger campus with a student population of over 3,200. Just under half of that 3,200 is coming in through the school busing. There are about 770 parent drop-offs each day, including 220 in the east parking lot and 550 in the south parking lot. The remainder are coming either through high school students driving and parking. We have 420 student passes that are issued each year, as well as 250 staff that come to the middle school and high school each day. And of course, we do have some regular walkers and bikers at the high school. That makes up just less than 3% of the student population at that campus. This is an illustration of the peaking characteristics of traffic around the school start times and end times. This graph illustrates 15-minute traffic volumes on Diffley Road just west of Braddock. And again, this is from the 2019-2020 school year. You can see the peaking characteristics around the 7 a.m. hour. This is our busiest period. But again, then you can see the peak is a little less steep in the afternoon and spread out a little bit more. I can say that the school start times have changed for the 2020-21 school year. Each school has a later start date, and we're hopeful that this will help spread out some of the travel demand. The school district applied for a Safe Routes to School grant back in January 2020 and found out in March of 2020 that they were successful in that grant. That Safe Routes to School planning process did get kicked off in August of this year, and it's expected to take about 8 weeks to complete. The primary focus of the Safe Routes to School planning is education and communication around safe walking, biking, and driving to school. This map illustrates what that pedestrian bicycle route map may look like when that planning process is done. The map is meant to illustrate where there are designated and safe crossings of Diffley Road, Braddock Trail, and other potential barriers that exist today. The campus detail map shows efforts to separate out pedestrian traffic from driver and bus traffic, as well as enhance the drop-off locations to the extent possible. Current Safe Routes to School planning process will finalize the details of these maps and make them available to students and families to assist them in making their route decisions. The final Safe Routes to School planning recommendations are anticipated in October 2020 and are incorporating both the current and future street, sidewalk, trail, and parking conditions that we're talking about here tonight. With the proposed Diffley Road and school site improvements, we are expecting and planning for more students to walk and bike to school. We are expecting as much as a 3 times increase at the primary crossings of Diffley Road. This is based on where the middle schooler and high schooler students are living south of Diffley Road, their relative walking and biking trip times, the attractiveness of the routes with the enhanced crossings, and statewide before and after findings of safe routes to school projects. So let's talk about the Diffley Road design layout and what's more specifically being proposed. The proposed improvements hit on all 6 of the key objectives that the project team set out to achieve. It was really the only alternative that hits on all 6. There are 5 components that are interdependent that help us achieve each of these 6 objectives. And I want to talk about each of those components here briefly. The first is the new access road from Diffley Road at Daniel Drive to Dakota Hills Middle School. This access road is essential to help spread out the travel demand and lower the exposure of pedestrians to vehicle traffic, especially along Braddock Trail. This may look a little different from previous versions. The new access road down to Dakota Hills Middle School has been engineered to fit the challenging terrain, minimize the need for costly retaining walls, and minimize the amount of tree impacts. In addition, we reconfigured the Daniel Drive intersection connection to Northview Elementary parking lot and tie into the new school access road connection. This includes a T-intersection design that provides an easily understood traffic control measures and best addresses the concern of vehicle backup from Northview Elementary School into the proposed roundabout. The second component is the school site improvements themselves. These are meant to improve the efficiency of the parent drop-off, staff and student parking, busing, overall lower the exposure of pedestrians to vehicle traffic. A second drop-off location will increase the drop-off efficiency, and a new trail from Braddock will enable walkers and bikers to reach Dakota Hills Middle School with less exposure to vehicle traffic. The third component is a Diffley Road lane reduction. Converting this 4-lane divided roadway to a 2-lane divided roadway will help us promote lower travel speeds and raise driver awareness of the school area. It removes the multi-lane threat to pedestrian crossings from 2 lanes of traffic in each direction to a single lane in each direction. The fourth component is roundabout intersections at Daniel Drive and Braddock Trail. These single-lane roundabouts bring operating speed down to 15 to 20 miles per hour at the most critical pedestrian crossing locations. This simplifies the crossings to a marked crosswalk, low speed, single direction, human scale interaction between pedestrians and the vehicle. And last but not least, the Diffley Marketplace crossing. This includes a marked crosswalk with a rectangular rapid flashing beacon and wide median refuge. I'm going to talk more specifically about the pedestrian crossings at the roundabouts and at Diffley Marketplace. Before I do that, each of these improvement components are dependent on one another. We can't have the lane reduction without the new access road, and we can't achieve the speed reduction without the roundabouts. So it's essential that these 5 components move forward because of their interdependence on one another. So I'm first going to talk about the Diffley Marketplace pedestrian crossing. This image is a rendering of the Marketplace pedestrian crossing from the perspective of a pedestrian in the southwest corner of the intersection, looking towards Northview Elementary School. The marked crossing includes overhead lighting and a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. The RRFB is a pedestrian activated flashing beacon that alerts motorists that a pedestrian is present and has initiated crossing of the roadway. So there are a number of factors or considerations when identifying the crossing treatments at a location like this. Each location has some unique characteristics, and those characteristics or consideration include the number of travel lanes in which the pedestrian needs to cross. It includes the vehicular and pedestrian crossing movements or the exposure that a particular pedestrian has to vehicular traffic. The expected operating speed of vehicular traffic is also a consideration. It's the speed of the vehicle dictates the type of gap that is necessary for a pedestrian to safely choose and cross the roadway. It also is a factor in the likelihood of vehicles yielding to pedestrian at a crosswalk. Considerations for how much delay the pedestrian may experience and how that relates, or the relationship of the delay relates to a pedestrian taking a risk at a smaller gap in crossing the roadway. And last but not least, the consideration for the crossing treatment includes the addition of a raised median refuge that's wide enough for pedestrians, bicyclists, and other non-motorized crossing at this location. This is the best condition for this location. Anything less, we'd expect delay to increase and pedestrian risk-taking to increase accordingly. Anything more, we would be spending significantly more money for no noticeable change in delay in safety. Now I'm going to move over to the Daniel Drive and Braddock Trail roundabout locations relative to the pedestrian crossing. This is a rendering of the Daniel Drive pedestrian crossing from a drone perspective on the west side of the intersection looking east. This configuration is identical to what is being proposed at Braddock Trail as well, so what I'm about to talk about applies to Braddock Trail as well. The improvements include a single-lane roundabout with a marked and signed crosswalk on all approaches. So as a pedestrian approaches the marked crosswalk in the lane of traffic, the pedestrian can expect vehicles to be approaching at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. This is a very human scale speed for a motorist to immediately recognize that a pedestrian is present and yield to that pedestrian prior to that pedestrian entering the roadway. We've seen across Minnesota, and national guidance has indicated that because of that, the yield rate is much higher at single lane roundabouts with a marked crossing than at a traditional intersection with a marked crossing. The crosswalks are also set back a bit more than traditional roundabout intersections to accommodate some of the bus traffic that we do expect at this location. You may ask, why not a flashing pedestrian beacon here as well? This is a valid question since we are just downstream from the Marketplace crossing. The two biggest differences between Daniel Drive crossing at the roundabout and the Diffley Marketplace crossing are this. Traffic speeds are considerably lower here at Daniel Drive compared to Marketplace. A 15 to 20 mile per hour approach speed compared to 35 mile approach speed. Pedestrians are better able to cross with smaller gaps, and yield rates are considerably higher for motorists traveling at that speed. The second difference is traffic volumes are lower here compared to Marketplace, especially eastbound traffic, where as much as 20% of the traffic coming from Lexington Avenue turns right into the Marketplace parking lot. So there's less exposure, there's less vehicles that are making it to the Daniel Drive location. We do expect that motorist yield rate for pedestrians at a single lane roundabout is right around 83%. And that is a national statistic measured on thousands of single lane roundabouts around the country. And it's consistent with the findings at hundreds of single lane roundabouts across the Twin Cities and greater Minnesota. We recognize that this varies depending on where the pedestrian is first seen by a driver. Nonetheless, I am confident in this configuration's ability to safely and conveniently serve 3 times the pedestrian crossing movement than that's there today. Again, you may ask, and I have been asked, are you sure about that? I am sure. I'm confident that the roundabout locations are going to serve the pedestrian needs very well. This is based on some sensitivity analysis that we completed at both Daniel Drive and Braddock Trail to see how the average delay may increase if our assumptions about vehicle yielding decrease. All that being said, our analysis is based on assumptions of traffic and pedestrian volumes, motorist yield rates, and pedestrian decision making. The county will closely monitor these conditions to confirm the expected results are achieved. If not, if we see different results, other considerations to increase motorist yield rates will be considered. So that's a deep dive into some of the pedestrian crossing improvements and why we're recommending what we are. So what's next here? As I mentioned earlier, we do have additional information on the project overall that's available on the in-person open house meeting at the school parking lot. It's also available on the project website and will be there from this point forward. We are looking to get input here today or on the project website through the September 28th. We expect our next public information opportunity will be in December of 2020. We do have some decisions that need to be made here in October 2020. As most of you know, we've had a challenging time, to say the least, to get the project funded through the state bonding bill. Through 3 special sessions, we have yet to be successful in securing that funding. That is an important piece, an important need for us to commit to delivering this project in 2021. The county, city, and school district are currently in the process to develop alternative funding plans in case the state bonding request is not secured in time for a 2021 construction. In October 2020, we will determine whether or not we either have the state bonding or we have an alternative funding and financing plan to move the project forward and commit to that 2021 construction season. If that is the case, we will complete the final design by 2020, so we'll have all the details and construction plans available to review at that point and work through the approval process through the school, city, county, and state requirements. We would expect construction to begin in May or shortly after school is dismissed for the summer and take the better part of the summer to get the roadway, trail, sidewalk, pedestrian crossing improvements completed. More information is available on the county's website or the project website. Just simply go to the county website and search for Diffley Road, and it will bring you right to that. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to some of the finer details on the pedestrian crossings and the updates on the project.